Good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And I have got a really good dude on this morning. This guy, his name is Chad Kneller. And I apparently that's how you're supposed to also say knife. But anyway, and check this out. He has a book called Finding Happy that he just sent me a copy of it with a really beautiful note on the inside. And I'm excited to have this guy on the show. Everybody, welcome Chad Kneller. Kneller to the show. Chad, welcome, man.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me here. Excited.
I'm glad you're here, man. So, I have interviewed 250-ish celebrities and entrepreneurs and man, I started this show a couple years ago to help people get unstuck in life. People get stuck, they stay stuck, they live in their story, and I just think that we can help people by telling our story. So let's start with your story and talk about where you were born and raised.
So I was born in Decatur, Illinois. Some know it as the armpit of Illinois. And that's where I was born. I went to school all through grade school in Mount Zion, Illinois. And then my junior year, my dad got a job at a car factory in Bloomington, Illinois, Bloomington Normal. And so we moved my junior year up there and then lived in Bloomington Normal and up until graduated high school. And that's when I took off on some Army adventures after that.
Oh, Bloomington Normal as opposed to Bloomington Abnormal?
Correct.
Why is it Bloomington Normal? Is that the name of the town?
Yeah, it's Bloomington and Normal. So we call it Bloomington Normal. Half of it's Bloomington, the other half's Normal. So I guess you moved there to feel a little more normal.
It's literally the town name is Normal.
Yep.
Wow. Is there like a town called Chaos nearby or like, what the heck? Normal, Illinois? I've never heard of that, man. Never heard of that. So you're from the Midwest, man.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. I'm here in Ohio. So you went to school in Bloomington, you said, right?
Well, Mount Zion, grew up in Mount Zion. And then when we moved to the Bloomington Normal area, I actually went to my junior and senior year at a high school called Olympia High School, which is out in the middle of a cornfield. And about 8 different villages kind of fed in there. So it was kind of different going from a larger school in Mount Zion, Illinois, to a real smaller school. And, and for being exposed to all these farmers, it was kind of a farmer's community.
Yeah. Did you work on a farm?
No, never did. I had one friend that lived on a pig farm, though. And the deal was when I spent the night with him, we got woke up about 5:30 by his dad saying, "Up and at 'em, boys." And I got to help with the chores. And so I didn't stay with him very often.
Yeah, right. No kidding. Like, nah, dude, I'm good. I'm not coming over. So with growing up in that area, you said you graduated high school and then went into the Army.
Yes.
Well, thank you for your service.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I was just kind of like a typical high schooler, a lot of high schoolers. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And there was a recruiter at our school one day and he said, "Hey, we'll pay you money for college if you don't know what you want to do for college." And I thought, well, why not go into the military for a few years and then have them pay for my college since I didn't know what I wanted to do anyway. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of a whole new adventure of jumping on a Greyhound bus 12 days after you turn 18 and off you go out in the middle of Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And, people yelling at you all day. And that was a brand new experience for sure.
Yeah. So, dude, that sounds like a pyramid scheme. Sounds like they're scamming you. I'm kidding. So you went into the Army and at 18 years old, and how did that go? And what did you sign up for 4 years?
I signed up for 3. Yeah, 3 years. I think they were going to give me 20 some thousand for college. Plus in Illinois, you get the Illinois Veterans Grant. So you don't pay tuition anyway, just by being a veteran. So it was a good plan. Ran off into the military. And that's really kind of where I guess I started to major in partying. You know, the military, I ended in Germany when I was 19 and there's no drinking age there. So my life started to revolve around the party and I just party.
Yeah. Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, nothing until you end up with, you know, so many warrants for your arrest and thousands of dollars in fines. And didn't go anywhere real well for me.
Right. So talk a little bit about what went on in the Army. I mean, did you ever think I'm going to make a career out of the Army or?
No. And it's interesting because full circle after I got out of the military, I ended up going back in 11 years later and had to start off at a lesser rank than when I got out, you know, at age 21. So,
oh, geez.
But I was just focused. I was going to do my 3 years and then go to college. And, you know, I took the whole last year in the military, deciding what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be an actor. So I signed up for acting school, Illinois State University. And I started going there. And then along the way, I started singing in a band. And this is about 1994. I started singing in a band and I dropped out of college because I wanted to do music full time. And just, you know, that led to more and more partying, which most of the 90s is a blur for me because it was party through the whole decade.
Wow. I can relate. We'll just leave it there. I'm sure we passed each other in some kind of a blur at one point in the 90s. But so you what happened? I mean, you were in this band. Did you guys like become famous? What'd you end up doing?
So interesting. We went through the whole thing, put a CD out. We had management in Chicago. At one point, management said we were supposed to quit our full-time jobs, go apply at temp agencies. We'd be on the road for 2-3 weeks at a time. And our lead guitar player had 2 kids and a boat payment and 2 cars and a house. And he said he can't do that for unless we have guaranteed. And at the time we had the big head, you know, we thought we were going to be going on tour with Kid Rock or Korn anytime. And so we were waiting for the bigger thing. And it just kind of fizzled. It really just kind of fizzled. And amidst all that, in 1999, I had a younger brother. So I have 2 brothers and a sister. And my younger brother, at age 15, he committed suicide, and so that put my whole family in this crazy state of disarray. And that same year, I'd been dating a girl for 4 years, and we were breaking up, and it was bad. It was one of the most darkest, depressing points of my life was 1999, and it just kind of had culminated. There was all this partying, and then the relationship breakdown, and my brother committed suicide. And I remember being there in 1999, just thinking, man, I don't want to live anymore. But I knew if I took myself out, that I might as well take my parents out too, because they were barely hanging on by a thread. And so it was just a tough place in the late 90s. Yeah.
Wow. I can't even imagine that, man. How old were you when your brother passed?
I was 26.
Were you guys close or?
Well, the thing is we were close and drifted, but during that season of life, I was just focused on myself. You know, I was focused on my music career. I was focused on how could other people help me and serve me, and just in that very selfish place, just young, dumb, and didn't really understand a lot about life that I understand now. And I was pursuing what I thought would make me happy, you know, the partying and the girls and the fame and all that kind of stuff. And in the middle of all that, it just everything started to break down.
If Kid Rock would have only woken his butt up and seen the talent.
That's right. What's funny is we had our drummers, one of our drummers' friends' wives was one of the lead dancers in Kid Rock's Cowboy video. So we had these different connections where we were able to get our music to, you know, to these different people, and they liked it. Everybody always liked it. And then they were like, well, you know, work on this or work on this. And we were getting great response. We were playing in Chicago and all around the place, and in Illinois, Peoria, opening up for some big bands of the time. And so we felt really good about where things were headed. But now looking back.
Didn't you say you went to acting school? Did you leave acting school to do the band thing?
Yeah, I dropped out of college. I actually went into college and dropped out 3 different times. I finally got my 4-year degree after 15 years. So ultimately I circled around, but I did the
Right. Yeah. There are people that get PhDs faster than that.
That's right.
So you went, so the band eventually fizzled out, and were you still in Illinois at the time?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened from there? I mean, did you have to go get a job?
Well, so when the band fizzled out, the girl I'd been with for 4 years and together apart, I ended up getting married, and that didn't even last a year. It was just, there was so many issues going into that in the first place. And so
did you get married thinking if we get married, we can fix these problems?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And it didn't fix anything. They just got worse.
Yeah.
And a big part of it was just who I was. I wasn't marriage material at the time. It wasn't, right. I didn't understand things I understand now. And so for me, and then that band didn't work out, but I was always in bands and I was making money just playing in bands, doing, playing on the weekends, doing cover songs and in bars and things like that. And just kind of drifting, I was just in that kind of drifting phase of life. And I'll never forget, because this was a turning point in my life, was August 24th, 2003. I was in a band called One Shot Twice, and we were playing at this benefit, and this, our drummer's son's best friend had died. So we agreed to do the benefit, and I was running sound, and there were 6 bands playing that day. And it was just kind of it was kind of a Sunday, and it was a smaller place and nothing was happening. And then this woman walked through the door, and I looked at her and I went, and I elbowed my guitar player and I said, "That is my future wife." And he said, "No, man, that's my future wife." And I said, "Well, we'll see about that." And I met her that night, and it was on a Sunday. And then we ended up hanging out all day, all night. The next day she had to go back to St. Louis, and then we moved in together the following Friday. So we met on Sunday, moved in together on Friday. 2 months later, found out she was pregnant, and it was this whirlwind. But 10 days after I met her, I was arrested with 6 warrants for my arrest, and she came and bailed me out. So I knew she was a keeper at that point. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this girl's a keeper."
Dude, that is not generally on people's list of reasons that they should keep someone around. That is funny. Like, oh my God. Okay, so let's back up. Why in God's name did you have 6 warrants? What did you do?
It was silly things, really. Like one is I never knew if you get. I lived downtown at one point, and
hey, there's Glenn Mooreshower.
Hey, Glenn. Great to see you. So I've been talking about you for the last 2 days, Glenn. That's awesome. No, so when you live downtown, they have all these rules, right? They've got you can only park on this side of the street between 5 and 7, but you can park on the other side of the street between 10 and 2. And I'm so confused. I'm out there moving my car. And finally one day I said, "You know what? I'm done moving my car." And so I'd go out there every day, and there'd be parking tickets, and I'd just stick them in the glove box. And there'd be more, and I'd stick them. Well, if you don't pay, they start off being $5, and then they turn to 10 or 20 each. And then if you just continue to not pay, then you end up getting a warrant for your arrest. So that was one of them. And then I had, gotten so many traffic tickets that my license was suspended, but I didn't care. I mean, I just kept driving anyway, right? And then I just decided I wasn't going to go pay the tickets or show up to court or do anything. One of them was public urination. So outside one night, and I just had to go. And there was a guy, I was with a guy, and he was on the other side of my car, and he said, "Don't look behind you now," but there's a police officer just pulled up, and we're on a hill. So as I was going to the bathroom, the stream is literally going down. And so by the time I turned around and saw the lights, the police officer just says, "Did everything come out okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So these all culminated into 6. And now I met a woman, and now I'm like, man, I probably need to get my stuff together. When she first introduced me to her father, he said, "Does this one at least have a driver's license?" And I was kind of like, I will soon. I'm getting it back. I promise. So probably every father's nightmare that, you don't want your daughter to bring me home to meet you. So that's where I was. I mean, when I was 30 years old, and that's where I had landed from the choices I had made, and I had made some bad ones at that point in life.
Wow, dude. Wow. Yeah. If my daughter's brought you home now, wow.
I'm sure I would have disappeared. I have one too. My daughter's 12, and I've already got like the criteria. I'm like, if it doesn't meet this, just don't even bother. Like it's not happening.
You're like, I am not afraid to go back to jail. So wow. Okay, so you met this woman. You said 2 months later she was pregnant. You were living together. You had your first child, I'm assuming, within about 9 months after that.
Mm-hmm.
If we follow the normal gestation period. So what okay, so what happened? Where did things go from? So she bailed you out of jail. I'm assuming you kind of took care of everything at some point.
Yeah. So she bailed me out, and when we found out she was pregnant, we said, she kind of looked at me and said, "You gave that cup." That's great. So it's funny because we got together and we kind of looked at each other one day, and she said, and we knew we were going to have a child, and she kind of looked at me and said, "I don't know if you're really quality father material." And I kind of looked at her and said, "I don't really know if you're quality mother material." And so we both knew that something had to change. And after we talked together, we said, well, where can we meet some good couples? Because we wanted to get away from our single friends. We wanted to get away from the partying lifestyle. We wanted to grow up, I guess. And so my wife was at the time, she was a waitress at Cracker Barrel. So she was at Cracker Barrel one day, and a pastor walked in, and I was in a company at the time, and we were looking to recruit pastors. And so I said, hey, you should get his information. And so he was kind enough for us to sit down with him and share with him what we were doing at the time. And he invited us to a couples night. And so we went to the couples night, and we loved it. And so we were there. And during the timing, all this is interesting too, because I had to go because of the 6 warrants and because of all the stuff and the parking tickets and all that. I had to go, and I had gotten a DUI. And in the state of Illinois, when you get a driving on a suspended license after DUI, it's automatic jail time. So I had to go to jail for 2 weeks. And wow. I decided when I was in jail, and first of all, what's crazy is this was the time, I don't know if you guys remember the song by Hoobastank, but there's a song called The Reason. And it says, I found a reason for me to change who I used to be, a reason to start over new. And the reason is you. And so I'm in jail, and that song, it just seems like it was playing on repeat. Like it was playing every single day over and over and over. And it was just sinking in. I was like, okay. And I'd already heard of Jim Rohn, and I already knew, it already been deep inside me planted that if I would change, everything could change for me. And so now here I am. I want to change. I have reasons to change. I sat there. I grabbed a Bible when I was in jail, and I just divided it by 14, like the total number of pages. I think it was 80 some pages. And I sat there and I read 80 some pages a day. I read the whole entire Bible in 2 weeks, other than I skipped the one chapter where it's just like so-and-so begot so, the whole genie, I skipped that chapter because I started reading it. And I was like, okay, I can't go through this one anymore. But I read through all of it, and I had like 50 or 60 questions. When I got out, I went to sat down with that pastor, and I just started asking this, asking that. And that was the beginning of a huge change for us. One of the next things we knew we needed to do was get away from our old lives, get away from our old friends and the toxic environment that we had created in that area. So I went back March 5th, 2000, what year was that? 2005. Yeah. I went back into the military, and, I had left as a specialist, and now I had to go back in as a private. So I'm 30. Wow. It's very humbling. So it was like starting life over where I felt like I was like 18 again. So I had to go back in the military, and I was 30 years old and had 20-year-olds, telling me what to do. And so it was very humbling. But
dude, that would suck.
yeah,
I couldn't do that.
It sucked.
So you have this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
I told Kyle, I said, dude, after Kyle and I became friends and he kept talking about this booklet and he was showing it to me on camera, and I'm like, all right, I got on jimrohn.com and bought 20 of these to give away. So yeah, amazing little booklet. But so you went back into the military. Wow. How long?
Yeah. Well, when I went back in, I thought it was going to be a career. So I went back in and I promoted fairly quickly. Within 3 years, I was a staff sergeant in the military. And when I had promoted to sergeant, though, you have to go to sergeant school. Basically, they call it a warrior transition course. And when I was there, out of the blue, one of my instructors said, "Hey, I want you to share the Army values with the class. You have 5 minutes." So I got up and I shared it. And when I got done, he said, "You know what?" He said, "Have you ever considered becoming an officer?" He said, I've met a lot of officers, but you just did it just as good as any officer I've ever heard speak, and you should consider it." And that seed planted, and I couldn't get out of my mind. I was just like, man, Colonel Kneller sure does sound cool. I was like, that'd be great, wouldn't it? And so it was just there, and I had to end up, I had to finish my bachelor's degree, and I was full-time military. So I ended up doing it on nights and weekends for a couple of years just to get it done. And then I went in 2010, I think it was, I commissioned, became an officer. So then now I'm really invested in the military. So at that point, I'm like, all right, I am all in 20, 30 years till they drag me away, kicking and screaming.
Wow.
And so now that brings us to like 2012. And at the beginning of 2012, I would have said, there's no way I would leave the military. But by the end of 2012, I couldn't leave the military fast enough. So that was, again, another huge transitional point. And really 3 things happened. One that happened was I had planned a Disney vacation, our first family vacation to go to Disney. You kind of, it's a big event, right?
Oh, yeah.
I have my little girl, she's like.
And where were you guys living, by the way?
At that point, we were in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. When I commissioned as a field artillery officer. So I went straight to Clarksville, Tennessee, to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So,
wow.
So I'm at Fort Campbell, and we have this epic trip planned, and we're getting ready to, we're counting down the days. I'm telling my daughter about Disney, and my older son, we're so excited to go. And about 10 days before vacation, they say, my commander calls me and says, "I hate to do this, but we have to withdraw your leave. There's some more pre-deployment training that came up that we have to do. You're going to have to do your vacation on the back end." Now, these were non-refundable tickets. And the worst part of this, though, is sitting down with my daughter specifically and saying, "Hey, honey, I know we're supposed to go to Disney, but we can't now. We have to change it till after I get back." And so, the big old alligator tears. And she said, "But Daddy, you said." And I thought to myself, man, I did say. But now, because of my commitment and in the military, you're a soldier 24/7. So that happened. Another guy I'd been in officer school with, he was like West Point quarterback. He was the fastest guy, one of the smartest guys, just got married, everything going for him. And he was in Afghanistan just a few days and hit an IED. It blew up his vehicle, broke both of his legs. He still got out and walked to the stretcher because of the trauma, the head trauma. He died during the medevac. So now I'm looking at this like, man, I'm not bulletproof. If anyone was bulletproof, it was that guy. And I felt like our job was safe because a field artillery guy, normally you're kind of in the background, you're supporting the infantry. The infantry's in real danger. But I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. That's rough. And then now when I am deployed, this is December in 2012. So I'm deployed, and my job was I had a group of 6 guys, and we're traveling around Afghanistan teaching the Afghans how to shoot their artillery because they really didn't know.
How many guys?
I was in charge of 6 guys. So
6,
we had a small group of 6. We had about 4 locations that we had to travel to. And so we're in and out of airports all the time. So I'm in an airport, and I open up, the Wi-Fi was working in the airport. And so I open it up, I get on Facebook, and I see my wife literally pleading for prayer. She made a post that our 2-year-old son And our 2-year-old son had a lot of health issues and stuff when he was growing up. There's just like, he started crawling later, he started walking, after he was 2 years old, that kind of thing. And so he was just got sick very easily and that sort of thing. And so I already knew he had gotten croup and he was on breathing treatments. But this day I get on this post and my wife says, please pray. I'm on my way now to the ER. My son is internally hemorrhaging and he's getting a blood transfusion right now. And it's not looking good. And so I'm like, I'm in an airport. So all I'm thinking is, hey guys, look at this. I got to go home. I'm 7,300 miles from home. I'm like, I need to know like right now. And because of my position and because of the decision of my chain of command, I had to fly the wrong direction and I had to go fill out some paperwork, turn in my weapon. And it took me about a day and a half just to get back to that same airport to get back on way home. Now, the good news is my son's fine. And I got home Christmas Eve. And so I was able to open presents up. My other 2 kids had no clue. It was a big surprise. Daddy, I walked in the door. My wife filmed it. They're like, oh my gosh, Dad's home, Christmas together. So it ended up being a great story, right?
Wow.
But I told it was one of those never again moments, like I remember Jim Rohn saying his never again moment with the Girl Scout cookies. Girl Scout shows up selling them cookies. He just doesn't have the $2. And he's so embarrassed. He lies to her and he's like, I already have plenty of cookies from the last person or whatever. And then he's like, never again. That was his moment, never again. So for me, I was like, I am never again going to tell my kids something and not be able to do it. I'm never again going to put myself in a position where I have to be 7,000 miles from home and I can't go home when my family needs me the most. So on that flight home in 2012, I literally mentally retired from the military. And I knew it was just a matter of figuring it out. How was I going to actually leave?
Right.
And a couple months before that, my wife and I had joined a network marketing company. And we were playing around with it, making a couple $1,000s with it. But because I was able to come home from that, mid-January of 2013, we were able to go to a conference and we sat down there in this conference and we saw the success stories. We saw the potential. We decided to go all in, came home, and from January 16th to April 30th, we literally quadrupled my military income with our part-time business income. And I was able to, I had to put in it's called a refrad packet in the military. I put a packet in, took about 6 months. And then February 1st, 2014, got out of the military, been out of the military since. And what's funny about this whole thing is in the military, my grind was always get to 6 figures so we could be 6-figure family. To me, that felt like a good number,
right.
And when we made the transition, we never made 6 figures in the military, but we've never made less than multiple 6 figures with our side hustle.
Yeah.
So it turned out to be this great thing. And along the way, I've been able to do fun things like write a book and just document the path, Yeah, that one right there.
Finding happy. That's awesome, dude. Wow. So what your main business is network marketing?
Yes, that's our main source of income. And then I've got, some other little side things, but that's our bread and butter.
That's so awesome, man. Good for you. So, did you ever go to Disney?
Yes. We've been there like 4 times now. I'm actually getting tired of Disney. I'm like, can we go somewhere new? Can we go?
There's nothing like the first time, man. And you never get that high back. So,
right.
So talk about the transition from being a partier to, I'm assuming you're not a partier anymore. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, not like that. I'll have a drink, a social drink here and there, but I'm not just if you wonder what my life was like, just watch the Doors movie, Jim Morrison. And that's kind of who I was modeling myself after back then was a lot of people in the 27 club, people who never survived past 27. And I was living like I wasn't going to live past 27. So
right.
a whole different way of living. And honestly, for me, Ken, it was finding the Lord. It was just deciding to surrender my life and understand that if I could live for something outside of myself and just studying and really truly becoming a Christ follower, it changed everything for me. And it started with just that first time there. mean, one of my first arguments with a pastor, I had a brother who was talking about getting married soon, wanted me to be the best man. And so this conversation came up between me and my wife that if he chose to go to a strip club, that it should be okay with her if I go to a strip club. And so I argued with a pastor about all the reasons why it should be all right for me to go see other naked women in a strip club, even though I was with my wife. And then what it boiled down to is he's just kind of said, well, if you're going to do that to purposefully upset your wife, how many other things are you going to do to purposefully upset your wife? And that was just a huge moment for me. And I was like, man, life isn't just about me anymore. Now I've got a wife, and we're bringing in we're having a child. So there's a lot more to this now than just my wants, needs, and desires. And it took a long time to get through this thick head for me to understand those types of things.
So what do you live your life for today?
I live my life for my family and just really significance. You know, I think it was John Maxwell that says success is great, but once you've tasted significance, success no longer satisfies. So when that's why I love your theme here of breaking through walls, because when I can help someone understand that they're operating here and that they could be operating here. I mean, something as simple as how many people have just walk through the reality that their Mondays are just always going to suck because their parents' Mondays always sucked and their friends' Mondays suck and their Mondays. And so I can relate because I used to be that way. And so one thing I ask people is, hey, if your Friday if you're not as happy on a Monday as you're on a Friday, then why not make some changes? Because it's possible. You know, Jim Rohn said, from testimonials and personal experience, we have enough information to conclude that it's possible to design and live an extraordinary life. So I've been able to design and live an extraordinary life for myself. And now what I love to do is help other people design and live their extraordinary lives. And I believe that we're made for more. And most people don't know that until someone comes along, interrupts them and says, hey, guess what? You're made for more, and you can have more and be more than you are right now. And that's really what it boils down to is like Jim would say, to have more, you have to become more. And so it's just becoming more. So I love to consume personal development. That's why hearing Glenn the other day, I just love Glenn, Les Brown, Jim Rohn, all those guys. Just love to learn and hear from those guys.
So this is about, this show's about getting unstuck, right? Like I told when I told my wife, hey, and I way outkicked my coverage with my wife. She's so much smarter than me. And I said, hey, I'm going to start a show where I interview celebrities and entrepreneurs. And she's like, cool. What's it going to be about? I said, getting unstuck. And she goes, what are you going to call it? I go, getting unstuck. And she goes, why wouldn't you use your last name and call it Breakthrough Walls? I go, okay, see, I'm getting unstuck already. So it's working. But I mean, dude, I'm a recovered alcoholic with almost 18 years of sobriety. And it's a blessing and a gift for me. And I didn't see it like that in the beginning, but it is a gift. And I look at it and I go, I've helped a lot of people over the years remove their head from their rear end and get their life together. But there's a lot of people that I've seen that didn't, and they didn't make it. And they literally did not make it in life. And it breaks my heart because I know that you're only one decision away from having a completely different life. So my question for you is, to those people that are stuck, they're just stuck. They don't know how to get unstuck. They're right now with this whole coronavirus scare and everybody freaking out and walking around wearing masks and living in fear. There's people that haven't had a paycheck or any money come in 2 months. Like, what do you say to those people that are stuck and paralyzed in fear? And I mean, we've been there, right? You've been there, paralyzed, where you're like, I don't know what the next move is, so I'm just going to hide. Right. So
Yeah.
what do you say to those people? How do you help somebody have that shift in their mind to get unstuck?
Well, I think first we have to, I think it starts with taking responsibility for where we are right now. And we have to say, instead of trying to blame, like, because I've been there too. So I understand the mindset of the person who blames everything and says, well, if just that would change and that would change and that would change and all this outside external things would change, then I would be better. What we have to do first is take the power back and say, I'm here in this spot because I made this decision and this decision and this decision. And then once you own it, then you can say, man, if those decisions got me here, where would new decisions take me? And to have what we've never had, we have to do what we've never done. And so it just becomes as simple as, okay, let's get out the drawing board, maybe wipe the slate clean. I believe right now that this is going to be, this whole COVID-19, I think this is going to be the greatest blessing in thousands of people's lives. I think it's disrupted their life and it's caused them to come back to the drawing board. And now they go, okay, this was our routine. This is what we're doing all these years, but now let's look, let's open up. Let's, instead of being the chicken that's confined to the chicken pen and just pecking and getting the food or going swimming around in the circle, now let's let's look from a bird's eye view, the 30,000 square foot view, and go, oh, wow. Well, I could go back to school. I could do this. I could try that. I've always wanted to, this was my hobby. I've always thought about making it into a business. Maybe now's the time. And, in the book, I talk about 10 keys to living an extraordinary life. And so, one of the keys, the first one, is just dreaming big. And I think a lot of us, every single kid we meet has dreams. You don't meet a kid and you say, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? They got some ideas. And we listen and we go, oh, you're going to be a princess, or you're going to be I remember I wanted to be I saw Indiana Jones. I was like, I'm being an archaeologist and have bad guys chasing, the adventure, right?
Right.
Or you watch Rocky and you're like, I'm going to be a professional boxer. I'm going to be a world champion. And then at some point you get older and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to, work this $12 an hour job forever. And
right.
Right. So I think part of getting unstuck is realizing you're stuck and realizing that there's other options and that you can design and live an extraordinary life.
Man, one of my things is I think that man, people don't think and dream, and they become adults and they get into that what you're talking about. They get into that job. Maybe it's way more than $12 an hour. Maybe they're making $100,000 a year, or they're making 150 grand a year, but they know there's more. They know there's more, dude. I sat here with my 9-year-old daughter last night. I pulled up a video of an $18 million home in San Diego that's for sale. I'm like, this is going to be our next home. She goes, what? And it is laid out. It's a nice crib, right? And she's like, what? How are we getting that? And I go, well, we got to come up with $18 million. She's like, well, so she sits down, crosses her legs, and sits down here in my office. She goes, so how are we going to make $18 million, Dad? How are we going to do that? Like, and I show her these things to make her dream. But I think that there's so many people living that at 9 years old, they would have believed that, yeah, maybe that's possible. But at 50 years old, they're like, yeah, it's never happening for me. Right. How do you get somebody to remove those blinders, to see bigger, to dream bigger?
Man, it's definitely a process, isn't it? You have to, I think it starts with it's like that rubber band, you just got to stretch it a little bit. And when you stretch it, it doesn't go back. You stretch it a little bit. And so, like with our profession, network marketing, it's constantly just building belief. It's building belief in people. It's in different areas. You have to build belief in a company. You have to build belief in products. And most importantly, though, it's building belief in ourselves. It's looking in the mirror and starting to see ourselves differently. and
Yeah.
started to see our. So I remember one time I worked in this car factory, the one where my dad worked at, and I started meeting these guys that have been there for years. And after you're there for so long, you get carpal tunnel. So they go in and have a wrist surgery, and they do the torquing under the cars. They go and get shoulder surgery and a knee surgery. And these guys and they'd start joking about it. They'd say, man, I need some money for a trip coming up. I think I'm about to go get another surgery. And I'm just like, man, you guys are literally like selling your health away for surgeries, And at one point I had to ask myself, someone asked me, how much would I charge someone for my right arm? And I said, well, I wouldn't sell my right arm for anything. And they said, well, why the heck are you selling your whole body for $22 an hour in this place? And I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Wow. And so I think part of it is just, it really boils down to what are we worth? What do we feel we're worth? And if we know we're worth more and we become worth more and we add more value to the marketplace, then we get paid more. And it's just, for me, it's part of being happy is just always growing. Growing shouldn't stop when we get done with school. And I think for most people, they're like, that phase of life is over. Let's go on to the next part. And we're fed this script, right? We're fed the script, go to school, get good grades, get a good job, have the house, have the marriage, have the car, 2.5 kids, 40 years, and then retire on 40% of what you made. And that's kind of, and then you get to finally have fun at age 65 when you get to go fishing all the time. And that's kind of the script and what society have bought into. And that script just doesn't work like it used to.
Right.
And so I think we have to, just not conform. We just have to understand who we are and why we're here. And that's a great question to ask. Who am I and why am I here? Yeah. And I think it's for more than just to eat some food and sleep and, have some babies.
And then die.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So what are some of the things that you do to help other people?
Well, one thing I do every year, I do a men's retreat every single year. And I think I love to come in with guys and help them turn the light bulbs on. I think that's so huge. For a couple of years ago, we had so when I wrestled in high school, and then my senior year, I went to state and had some buddies in state and met Matt and Mark Hughes. Now, Matt Hughes went on to be a legendary 9-time UFC champion. And what's interesting about his story is he'd retired and he was driving his truck one day and got hit by a train.
Wow.
And he was in a coma for 19 days. And he came out of the coma and he's still, he's slow speech. What's crazy though is that he didn't get one scratch, hit by a train, didn't get one scratch on his body, but in a coma, brain trauma, right? But when he came out, he didn't recognize his wife at first. He had to relearn how to talk. And it helped him. It was what he called a wake-up call. It woke him up to who he had become. He was a jerk. He was a jerk husband, a jerk father. And so after that, it was awake. The theme that year was awaken, and we have a shirt we made with train tracks, and it's pretty cool. But so I feel like a lot of us go through life, and it's possible, isn't it, to kind of go through life in kind of a numbed out, just kind of like half awake state of mind. I mean, it's easy in America, especially. I mean, food, water, shelter. It's not that difficult to survive, right?
Right.
And so many people walk around breathing, but they're not living. And so for me, it's this. I love to help people wake up. I love to wake them up and help them see that, oh my gosh, I'm living here, but I could be living here. And then just start spending more time working on goal achieving than tension relieving. We're in this culture where it's like, let's get by and relieve our tension and check out, and medicate ourselves as a society as often as possible. So just, I love to do that with men, especially. And I just know if you can put I think the breakdown of society starts in the home. And if you can get the guy right, if you can get a solid guy that's going to take care of his wife and his children like he should, then I think we get better. I think we can do a lot better than a 50% divorce rate. I think we could get it to 60 or 70. And it starts with the man, though. It starts with the man in the home. So I like to do that. And I just love to help people see who they are. I love to help them see we look in the mirror and we all see the dirt. The dirt's easy to see, but the gold, and so many people have gold inside them and they don't even know it because no one has told them that. their entire life. No one's even told them. I think Mark Twain said we can go 3 months off a compliment. How many people do we know that no one's even told them good job, or a parent never told them I'm proud of you or I love you? So when we can come into someone's life, and maybe it's just for a season of a couple hours or a couple days, but if we can come into their life and we can plant something that's going to end up growing later, plant seeds. And so I love being a hope broker, dream builder, faith instiller, whatever you want to call it. I love just doing something for some, because I had people that did it for me. I had a guy came along in my life, and it was one of the darkest, parts before I'd met Jeree and after I'd been divorced and stuff like that. And he'd been in jail for 3 years. He came out as a felon, but what he did was he figured out how to make it in network marketing. He came to me and he said, I see something in you that you don't even see in yourself. And I would pay, if you would come with me to this weekend, I would cover your trip and I will support you and I'll teach you what I know. And that guy believed in me at a time in my life when I didn't believe in myself. And so I'm so thankful for him. And I want to be that guy for as many others as I can, kind of like you're doing here. I want to come along in someone's life and maybe they're barely hanging on by a thread. And I can say something, or I can, not give them a hand out, but give them a hand up, right? If I can give them a hand up and I can, share a Jim Rohn CD with them or something that's just going to click, something that's going to change their life. And then maybe later down the road, I show up in their testimony. To me, that's like when John Maxwell says that, once you've tasted significance, success no longer satisfies. And so for me, that's significance. Significance is doing things that matter with people who care and leaving deposits that grow and grow and grow, because you can count the number of seeds in an apple, but you can never count the number of apples that are going to come from a seed. So we just plant seeds, plant seeds, plant seeds. And like Jim Rohn would say, our job is to plant the seeds and God's job is to grow the trees. And aren't we lucky that we have the easy part? We just do the planting.
And let God do his job.
That's right.
Don't stand over the seed and shadow out the sunlight, and don't overwater it, and just let God handle it, man. Surrender. You talked about that, and there's a wonderful book, and Glenn and I have talked a lot about this book. It's called Power versus Force. And man, it is one of the most impactful books I've ever read. It's deep, man. It's a really, really deep book. And it's life-changing, because once and I'm going to give it a really bad summary, but whenever you are trying to force something, like when you're trying to force a relationship, or you're pushing, all you do, and it's a universal principle, is you create resistance against the very thing that you want, right? So, but when you just surrender, like, hey man, I planted the seed, this is what I want, now I'm gonna get out of the way and let God do his job. I'm telling you that, Nancy just posted, it's written by Dr. David Hawkins. Amazing book. But that's where power comes from, is surrendering, man. It's where it comes from. So you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. Let me ask you this. If somebody, because, I'm sure you know who Ray Higdon is. I was talking to Ray last night. He's a buddy of mine and a client of mine, and great leader in network marketing. For somebody right now that has lost all hope, they're out of money, they don't know what to do next. I would imagine that whatever business you're in, the network marketing business, I would imagine there's a low barrier to entry, like most network marketing companies. You seem like you would be a good upline. So, like,
mostly my wife, but I'm just the extra. I'm the dot on the exclamation point at the bottom.
I love that, man. So how would somebody that's absolutely busted right now, how would they would you be able to help them?
Yes. 100% yes. And, anybody can reach out to me, Chad Kneller, Kneller. I know it popped up on here earlier. On Facebook is probably the easiest way. Instagram. I got a new TikTok account. We're having some fun with TikTok.
I love TikTok.
That's a fun platform.
I know. I love
especially,
TikTok.
Especially if you're kind of goofy.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Huh?
Especially if you like to be goofy. That's the spot where you just kind of, let your hair down, which I don't have I got rid of my quarantine hair the other day. My wife.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, TikTok. So, but yeah, all day long, I could definitely help people. We're in an explosive growth season right now. It's interesting how, like, our company in 2008, 2009, when companies were downsizing, capsizing, that's when our company went debt free. And March slowed down, I think, when the kids were coming home and everybody was like, whoa, what's going on? But then our team grew 60% last month, and we're up about 35% this month. So we're people need what we have, and people are hurting out there, like you just shared.
Yeah. Well, I think, here's the thing, man. I coach too many people in network marketing to get involved in network marketing. Plus, I'm focused on my business. But for somebody that, and I'm just going to give you a plug, man, because I've made a lot of money in network marketing. And I know that for somebody that maybe had a regular job, I mean, good Lord, man, there's people that they were going to work at that job for 40 years or 30 years and retire and do everything that you were talking about. And now maybe they got furloughed or laid off or whatever. And they're going, oh crap, this isn't working. This American dream I was sold 40 years ago is BS, man. This doesn't work. All it took is a virus, and now I'm unemployed and have no money. What's that all about? So I think that it would be an incredible. I would think that right now would be the busiest time you've ever seen in your network marketing business.
Yeah, it's been crazy. And I think of just for example, all the people on unemployment right now, they have the 4 months of the advanced increased unemployment, which is actually causing a lot of people. I know a guy who owns a hotel, and he had to let 44 employees go, and then he got the PPP stuff and went to bring them back, and only one came back. the other 40 said, no, thanks. I'm happy on this unemployment. We'll figure something else out, after these 4 months are up. So there's kind of the runway, that if someone will give this, and I've learned in network marketing, if you really want to go all in, it takes about 90 days to really get something that you can start building. But if you can go all in for 90 days and get focused on it, then you can absolutely build something. So these people, a lot of the people on unemployment, they've got about 90 more days on unemployment, or less.
Jeez. Unreal, man. Unreal. Chad, for somebody right now that is absolutely, I've told this story. One of the worst days of my life was I had a bunch of employees, and a guy that worked for me comes walking in my office, and he says, "Hey boss, there's some dude out in the parking lot looking in the windows of your SUV." And I said, "Well, tell him to get the hell out of here." And he said, "Well, I would, but he has it blocked with his tow truck." Not good, man. He was there to repo my car, and he did. And it was unbelievably humiliating. And, for somebody that's maybe just had their car repoed, or their electric's getting shut off tomorrow, and they're freaking out. And I have been there. What do you say to them in this moment? They don't have two nickels to rub together. What do you say to them right now in this moment to help them get through that and on to the next moment and experience success?
Well, first, I would just say you always have to keep your hopes up. I think we underestimate how much things can change, how fast they can change. And because I remember, and there's a point when I was like looking in couches for change to go get a McDonald's cheeseburger. So I remember how that felt, and just feeling like, and then you just feel so paralyzed and trapped. And it's almost like the more you go into this depression, and the worse things get, the more you go into depression, and it just makes things worse and worse and worse. And the only solution that I've found that really works in that kind of thing is you just have to explode out of the mud. Like, you got to explode out of. I remember one time I was just like, I'll do whatever. I went and I was given plasma for a little bit of money, right? I was going and joined some temp agencies. I'd ask right now, like, who wants to pay me $20 to clean your house, or what?
Right.
What, do you have anything I can take out to the streets and sell, and I'll give you half the profit? And all. I mean, you just got to become creative. And if you need money, like you need air, like, you figure it out, like,
Yep.
you just figure it out. You got to figure it out. And we have these conversations sometimes. We'll have people that, they don't have $100 to get started in a business. And we'll say, well, come on, let's get creative. Let's think about it. Do you have anything that you could sell? Do you really need your TV? I mean, at a point like that, maybe it's best if you sell the TV.
Right.
Spend a little more time, making some money instead of checking out, watching the TV. But
maybe read a good book.
That's right. Yeah, that book will definitely help. I'm getting a really, really good feedback from people that one is a lot of people that say they don't like to, they just normally don't read. They sit down and within a few hours, like, they're just like, I couldn't put it down. And so they keep, awesome. They just get through it all. And then I've gotten some really good testimonies back from people that said they felt lost and just didn't know what to do. And now they have a game plan.
And where can they find this Finding Happy? Amazon?
So, yeah, it's all over Amazon. It's on Audible, Nook, Kindle, all that stuff. If someone wants to, I have hardback copies too. If someone wants to go to findinghappybook.com, you can order bulk there for cheaper, and I'll autograph those. Those actually, my son packages those up and sends them there. I got a couple thousand of them still in the garage. So we
findinghappybook.com.
Yes, sir.
And that's, I have it scrolling across the bottom of the screen now. So that's where they can get an autographed copy. You said a hardback version?
Yeah, I've got soft and hardback version. Yeah.
Nice, man. Nice. So findinghappybook.com, that's your website. That's where people can go. How much is the book?
I think on Amazon, it's like $11-12, and it's a little bit more to buy through findinghappybook.com, but I'll sign it and, ship it out.
Nice. Dude, I love your story, man. You're a good dude. I was going to go in the Army too, by the way. I signed up. My best friend and I were signing up for the buddy system to go in together, and he went in and I bailed. He still hates me for that.
Well, it looks like it all turned out okay for you. So
it all worked out. So right. Nancy just ordered it on Audible. It's on Audible. You said that, right?
Yes.
Awesome, dude. That is so awesome, man. Anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we bounce?
Well, I just want to say, first of all, if you get the audio, hopefully you don't hear the snoring man in the background. There was when I went into the studio, there was a guy there, and he says he's Muhammad Ali's childhood friend. So that was cool, asking questions about that. But I'm sitting there in this little enclosure thing and reading the book, and then I hear snoring coming from the couch over there, and I'm like, oh man, but I don't hear the snoring on there, so it's okay. So I think the last thing I just want to share is just this idea that no matter where we are in life, that he's not finished yet. There's more, and there's higher, and there's greater. And it's just, I go to a church called The Belonging. If you want to hear a really, really amazing Christian album, just go by it's The Belonging Co. Just Google it or wherever and look it up. But one of the songs, it goes like this. It says, I won't forget the things you've done, for I know that this is just the beginning, and you're not finished yet. And you're not finished yet. Until I see your promise come. And God, with all I am, I'll keep believing that you're not finished yet. You're not finished yet. So I think if we just believe that, and we just know that we're a work in progress, and we never get the big head like I had in my 20s, that doesn't go anywhere well. If we just continue to move forward and grow and be humble and learn, then I think we figure it out, along the way, and we get there.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Findinghappybook.com or Amazon. Go grab a copy of Finding Happy by Chad Kneller. I was going to say, by the way, Colonel Keller would have sounded better. I'm just saying, dude.
Well, if my great-great-grandparents wouldn't have mispronounced our name,
Chad, you rock, bro. Thank you. Don't hang up on me, but I am going to end the live stream. So thank you to everyone who's watched this, been on here with us. I genuinely appreciate it. I know Chad does as well. You guys have an awesome day. Chad, thanks again for being on, man. You rock.
Thank you for having me.